Hi everyone, my name is Tracie PenDell and my presentation is on the United Kingdom. I'll be talking about the country's background, type of government, ethnicity, language, the British culture, and their food. The official name of the country is United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, but it's commonly called the UK. It's basically a country formed by a political union between four countries: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Great Britain is the island consisting of England, Scotland, and Wales, and Northern Ireland is the northern half of the island of Ireland. The term British is commonly used to refer to matters related to the UK, and the people of UK identify as either British or as their country of origin: English, Scottish, Welsh, or Northern Irish. So let me tell you, nothing annoys someone from Scotland or Wales more than being called English. So please call them Scottish or Welsh or British. And if you're in Northern Ireland, if you accidentally call a local English, you're going to start a fight. And don't say you're in England when you're actually in Scotland or Wales. So to me, the terms English, British, or UK, or Britain, all were very confusing at first. So this chart, the diagram here on the left, really helped me out a lot, and I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to start from the inside out. So you can see that the island of Great Britain consists of the countries Scotland, Wales, and England. The island of Ireland consists of the country Ireland and Northern Ireland. The country United Kingdom encompasses Great Britain and the three countries, as well as Northern Ireland. So this is United Kingdom. The British Islands also has these three little islands: Isle of Man, Jersey, and Guernsey. These are considered crown dependencies. They're self-governing islands, but the British government manages their foreign affairs and their defenses. And all of this is the British Isles. So all the United Kingdom, the British Islands, and the Ireland are considered the British Isles. So how did the UK come to be? Well, in 1066, the Normans invaded England from France and subsequently seized most of Wales and Ireland. The Anglo-Norman ruling class greatly influenced the local culture, but eventually they assimilated with the local culture as well. Then the medieval English kings conquered Wales, and they tried to conquer Scotland, but they were unsuccessful in annexing Scotland until in 1707, the Treaty of Union united the United Kingdom of England with the Kingdom of Scotland, and that created the Kingdom of Great Britain. Well, almost 100 years later, in 1801, British and Irish parliaments passed the Act of Union uniting Great Britain with Ireland, and that created United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Well, in 1921, Ireland had some unrest and they were divided. And then in 1931, the southern half became an independent country of Ireland, and the northern half remained part of the UK. So as you can see, the four countries have their own flag: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, but collectively they have the United Kingdom flag, which is also known as the Union Jack. The UK is a constitutional monarchy with a parliamentary democracy. A constitutional monarchy is an equivalent of the U.S. government's executive branch. So the monarch is the chief of state, and the prime minister is the head of the government. The monarch has the right to be consulted, the right to encourage, and the right to warn. And like I said, the prime minister is the UK's head of government, and the parliament has two houses: the House of Commons, which have elected officials, and the House of Lords, who are appointed. The House of Commons is elected every 5 years and tends to have more power than the House of Lords. Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland have their own government, and it's led by the First Minister, while England is administered by the UK government and led by the Prime Minister. There's also 3 distinct systems of law. People in England and Wales follow the English law. Northern Ireland follows Northern Ireland law, and Scotland follows Scots law. And because of this, each country has their own different education systems and different healthcare laws. So the ethnicity in the UK is mostly white, as you can see here. A little over 87% is white or white British. The next biggest ethnicity is Asian, and within the Asian ethnicity, most of them are from India and Pakistan. That's followed by Black or Black British. This data is from 2011. But since then, the UK has become increasingly more diverse, so I'm sure there's a little bit of a difference if you look at the current numbers. The official language of the UK is English, and unlike other European countries, almost 95% of the UK population is monolingual English speakers. Polish is the second largest language spoken in England, and that's followed by Punjabi, Urdu, and Bengali. UK also has 4 Celtic languages, Welsh, Irish, Scottish Gaelic, and Cornish, and these languages are recognized as regional or minority languages. So although British people may appear to be very open in public, they highly value their privacy. So this privacy requirement makes many people wary of making new friends. So if a foreigner really wants to adapt to British culture and make connections, they need to be patient and realize that creating friendships may take a little bit longer than anticipated. People in the UK also don't like to be embarrassed, so they will avoid starting conversations with fear that they may say something that the others might find offensive or which will result in a misunderstanding. So the foreigners may find conversations in the UK to be shorter and often just general topics such as the weather. The British people can be seen as a little bit too polite to speak one's mind. And it could be difficult for foreigners to understand what the British really mean when they're speaking. There's also some cultural taboos. There's some behaviors and topics that are best avoided. So first, when you're meeting somebody, they don't tend to hug or kiss, so a handshake is what's appropriate. Some topics to avoid when having a conversation is definitely to avoid any personal questions, such as questions about one's background or religion or occupation. You don't want to bring up any historical conflicts that the British were involved in. You want to avoid conversations about the European Union. Really, the UK does not really like to consider itself a part of Europe. They kind of want to be like their own thing. And also try to avoid partisan politics in your conversation. This chart I got off the internet, and it is about what the British people actually say versus what they really mean, and it's kind of comical but it's accurate. So when they say, "I hear what you say," it means I disagree with what you're saying and I don't want to talk about it anymore. If they start the conversation with the greatest respect, they actually don't have much respect for you. They think you're an idiot. That's a very brave proposal, means they don't really like what you're saying. They think you're nuts. Quite good actually means the opposite, that it's a bit disappointing. And I would suggest actually means do it. I was a bit disappointed means they were a lot disappointed. Very interesting means it was clearly a bunch of nonsense. I'll bear it in mind means they probably won't. I'm sure it's my fault is actually your fault. You must come to dinner. It's not really an invitation for dinner at all. They're just being polite. I almost agree means, oh no, I don't agree at all. Could we consider other options means I really don't like your idea and I'm not going to think about it. And I only have a few minor comments means, yeah, no, I don't like the whole thing. Now, food is a huge part of any culture, and in the UK, a typical meal is a choice of meat, a potato dish, and another side of vegetable. The traditional national dish of England is fish and chips. So the fried fish is your choice of meat. The chips, or French fries as Americans call it, would be the potato dish, and the other vegetable is typically the mushy peas. The traditional national food of Scotland is haggis, which is meat and grains and seasonings all stuffed in a sheep's stomach and baked or steamed. But the most popular dish in England right now is curry, believe it or not. And really, in my neighborhood and probably most of the UK, there's probably just as many Indian restaurants as there are fish and chip stands. So there's nothing more English than tea. But when I started living here, I didn't realize all the different teas. So first of all, there's the beverage tea, or sometimes referred to as the British as a cuppa, which is short for a cup of tea. So when you order a cuppa, you'll get a cup of tea and a biscuit or cookie. And then there's cream tea, which is not tea with cream as you might think. It's actually tea with scones and clotted cream and jam, also known as Devonshire tea. Afternoon tea is a British tradition of sitting down for an afternoon treat of tea, finger sandwiches, scones, and cake. And this ritual was often reserved for the upper class. So for the working class, tea time had to wait until after their work. And by that time, because it was later in the day, tea was generally served with heartier dishes. This became known as high tea and often included hot dishes such as cheese on toast or other savory dishes. So today, an evening meal is often called tea. So when somebody says, "Have you had your tea?" you have to figure out, are they asking me if I had the beverage tea or are they asking me if I had dinner? One of the other confusing terms in the UK is the word pudding. So first of all, in the US, pudding is something else. It's what the UK call custard. The word pudding in the UK can be used to describe something that's sweet or savory. The definition of pudding here is a mixture of ingredients baked, steamed, or boiled. So it's pretty broad definition. And depending on the ingredients, a pudding may be served as a main course or a dessert. So the Yorkshire pudding is a baked pudding, more like a puff pastry. Black pudding is a type of blood sausage. There's steak and kidney pudding, which is like a meat pie. Haggis is also considered a pudding. Dessert puddings include bread pudding, sticky toffee pudding, Christmas pudding. And the word pudding itself can also be used as a synonym for a dessert course. So to be honest, the pudding is really hard to figure out what they're talking about. So the US and the UK technically share a common language, but there's so much difference between the two versions of English that sometimes I feel like I'm learning a foreign language. So, no. That's the small glimpse into the United Kingdom. I talked about the country's background, the types of government, ethnicity, language, culture, and their food. The big thing to remember is that UK is actually a country that's made up of 4 distinct countries, each with their own accent, their own customs, and their own culture. So you need to be aware of each of them and act appropriately. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and thank you very much.